We're going on now to topic 6. Here we're going to deal with addition a little bit and subtraction. So for 1 through 4, let's see if we can set these up and actually simplify. All right, here's where it gets a little tricky. Here we're asked to subtract 15. So this becomes a negative 15 from a negative 14. So there's a negative 14. We're subtracting 15. We get a negative 29. Now here we're going to subtract a negative 9 from a negative 24. Well, there's a negative 24. There's, to indicate subtraction, a negative 9. Now notice when we do that, this becomes a positive, and our number reduces to a negative 15. So here they're asking, find the difference between a negative 4, which is right here, and a negative 13. Now the difference, again, is this negative sign here, and then again, this becomes a positive. So it gives us with a 9. Now as I read number 4, I don't get the answer that they get in the answer key. It says decrease 25. So I'm assuming this 25, and then decrease means to subtract by a negative 22. So I would get a positive 47. In the answer key, they're giving me a negative 47. So again, we'd have to go along with what's the interpretation here. All right, let's go on. Now, for these next few, we're going to put these numbers where the x is. Now, notice this is a negative 4. So this is going to become a positive 4 because the opposite of a negative 4 makes it a positive 4. So that's what they want you to do for each of these. Carefully put in this value for the variable and see if the statement is true. Okay, so here what they want you to do is some careful substitution. Notice if your x is a negative 4, the opposite of a negative 4 becomes a positive 4. And this is then 13 equals 5? No. Now here when we put in our negative 6, it's the opposite of a negative 6, makes it a positive 6, plus 3. And then a negative 2 times a negative 6 gives you a positive 12, minus 3. 9 equals 9, and yes, this checks. And then here, putting a 0 in there makes this a 0. So we end up with 5 equals 1. No. And then putting a 0 there makes this a 0. Negative 1 equals negative 1. Yes, that is true. All right, looking ahead into 9 and 10, they're asking us to find the unknown complementary in example 10 and supplementary angle in example 9. Remember, supplementary angles, the sum are 180. That's a straight line. And complementary angles, the sum is 90. Give you a moment. So 108 plus 72 equal 180. 18 and 72 equal 90. So again, supplementary angles measure 180, complementary 90, so we just had to do a little substitution. Now in these, we want to follow order of operations, and keeping in mind that once we have the grouping symbol absolute value, we figure what's going on inside, and then when it comes out, it's always positive. So let's see how you do with these. So looking through these now, we see internally here, this is a negative 11. That comes out as a positive 11. Then we apply this negative sign. This is just negative 13. And when we do this, we have a positive 10. So when we add these, we end up with a negative 14. Now here, when this comes out, it's a 3. 3 to the third power is 27. 5 squared is 25. Now, keep in mind here that you're squaring the 4 to get a 16. Then you apply the negative sign. And you end up with a 36. This comes out as a positive 2. This is a 3. 3 squared is 9. So 2 plus 9 is 11. And the opposite of a negative 4 is a positive 4. And this comes out to be an 11. And that's where we get 1. 11, or anything divided by itself, is 1, except for 0. All right, here's a 4. This is a negative 5 internally. A negative 8 times negative 5 is a positive 40. 40 plus 4 is 44. Now, as we go on to 15, they're talking about a temperature change. At a certain time, it was 4 below 0. Then within 2 minutes, it rose to 45 degrees. What's the difference? So we have 45 minus a negative 4. Now notice when we go minus a negative 4, this actually becomes a plus. And we end up at 49 degrees because we have to go from here to there. That's 4 degrees. And then all the way up to there. That's another 45. So again, you use the subtraction technique. But remember, the opposite of a negative makes it then a positive, because now you're looking for total degrees. And the same thing applies in this one. You're subtracting, and when you subtract a negative, it becomes a positive, so your number becomes bigger. Now, looking at number 17 here, is this always a negative number? Because you're subtracting something. Well, if this absolute value is larger than this absolute value, then that wouldn't be true. So this is false. And it applies here as well. If R happens to be a larger negative, or that's true, if it's a larger negative than this became positive. But because this is such a large negative, it wouldn't always be a positive number. I see we're moving on to 9 minutes, so hopefully we can get this done in 10. Here we want to carefully substitute and see what we get. Okay, so again, the use of a parenthesis to indicate what the variable is, a very good technique. So you see here, we're going to get a positive out of this. So there's a 7 divided by negative 7 gives you a negative 1. Here we're squaring a negative 3, giving us a positive 9. We're squaring a negative 5, gives us a positive 25, but then we apply that negative sign, and this is just a negative 4. So 9 minus 29 is a negative 20. Again, good luck with your practice and quiz me's. We kept it under 10 minutes.